Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Yannis. I will be replacing George as a host for you for the afternoon sessions. Thank you all for being here again after yesterday. We had the coffee break, so we'll continue with the rest of the sessions. We have another break, which is going to be the lunch break in about, I think, 2 hours from now. So we have one session and one lab like yesterday. Just an announcement, we have the lab session right now at 12:30. Master building your own Gen AI app with RAG is going to be on a different room. It's not going to be here. If you don't know how to get there, you can go outside and ask for directions on the hallway. And I would like to introduce you our next speaker, Florian Fieber, Chief Process Officer at TestSolutions. And he's going to talk about human testers versus AI, collaboration or competition. Please, welcome, Florian.
Hi, everybody. So also good morning, which is kind of weird to me. So I'm from Germany, and now I would have already had lunch after me. But apparently it's still morning here. We will have lunch in 2 hours, if I learned. But anyway, so yeah, I'm happy to be here. So I'm this QA part here. I've learned this morning that there are at least 2 more or 3 more QA people here, and I would like to add some QA perspective on this whole topic of testing and AI. And so my here it's working. So my title is Human Testers versus AI. Is it a collaboration or a competition? So I want to shed light on this question that not only in testing, also in other disciplines, but from the perspective of testing, will we still need humans in our disciplines, or will there be a takeover of the machine, of the AI in the future? And this will be the last conference that we are sitting here and presenting and not sitting AI bots listening to each other, right? So we will see how that will go out. So this image, by the way, is depicting human testers in the age of AI, and I asked DALL-E to generate a picture for me. And I tried really hard having also non-pregnant people on that image, and it did not work out. So this guy is pregnant there. I asked DALL-E, please do not make this guy pregnant, and I even got more pregnant people. So poor guy is only having 1 leg, but at least 2 feet on the remaining leg. Even the boy in the wheelchair is pregnant, but he is having at least 3 hands. And I guess this older man, he probably also is pregnant. So the thing is, this is kind of reality we have to cope with when dealing with AI or LLMs or generative tools. And the question now is, I mean, this is apparently a false positive we have, right? The man being pregnant. That's not possible, and we see that, and we say, okay, this is wrong. This is not true. This is somehow weird. But if I transfer this now to, for example, my discipline I'm coming from, we want to generate test ideas, we want to generate acceptance criteria, we want to talk about right or wrong, true or false, we need test data for running test cases and so on. So how can I assess whether the results I get from an LLM, from an AI system in general, are valid or non-valid, right? And can I just use them, or maybe do I have to be crucial on that and have some skills? And the spoiler is, yes, we should have some skills for that. So before we start, maybe to wake you up again, so I have a mug here. It says, we love mugs. So the question is, what is the function here? So we have here on the left, you see x, 1 equals to 3 would be the function, 2 to 3, 4 to 4, 7 to 5, 13 to 8. And what is the answer to 1,347? Oh. So if you don't know the exact answer, maybe you know how to calculate it. Someone having an idea? No idea? No testers here? Say it again? the number of the letters, which is 37. Very good, thank you very much. So you just want a mug. Your mug is here, you can grab it later. Yeah. So why? Thank you very much. So it's 37 letters in the word 1,347. Yeah. So why do I have this example here? This is a good example that humans, some humans at least, are able to solve that problem. It requires some intuition. It's thinking around the box. It's having some creativity maybe. And this is an example. An LLM, for example, is really bad in solving. So you can try that with your go-to model, and it might fail, it might do it, and so on. So this is why we need humans, for example, to solve those kind of things. So the question is, will AI take my tester job? And maybe we can also transfer some ideas I'm about to present also to other disciplines, not only to the testing perspective, but this is at least my perspective I'm having here. So I'm Florian, Fieber is my name. I'm from Berlin in Germany. It's a little bit colder there at the moment, not some nice 22 degrees, but it's also about to get spring there. I'm a tester. I've always, or almost always, working as a testing QA person in my professional life. I'm a consultant and trainer with a company called TestSolutions, which is one of the biggest testing service providers in Germany. So we provide typically testing services to our clients. For example, test automation, we do a lot, test management, test process improvement, non-functional testing, performance testing, load and performance testing, accessibility testing, and things like that. So, and of course, we are highly interested in this question whether we still need human labor in the future, because this is apparently also our business model. Not only from that perspective I'm interested, but also from others. I come to that. So my role, it's called Chief Process Officer. I typically do strategic consulting to our clients, developing test strategies, test process improvement, test maturity assessment, and things like that. Internally, I do qualification, upskilling, knowledge management, and things like that. And I really found it interesting, the first talk we heard this morning. So this would be a great use case also for us in a servicing company, right, to have all the knowledge together. I'm also with the German Testing Board, which is the, if you heard of the ISTQB, International Software Testing Qualifications Board, International Standardization Organization for Certifying Software Testers. This is the local chapter in Germany, and I'm a member there and have been the president now there for the last 3 years. And with that, I'm also working on the ISTQB scheme, if you have heard of that, the certified tester. So, but how about you? So, 2.5 years ago, ChatGPT was there, right? So apparently there was AI, and there was no AI before, of course, and apparently there now was AI. Of course, it was there before, but we realized that there is AI, that it has become accessible and usable, easy to use, go-to, right? So everybody started trying it out and using it. So my first question is, and please raise your hands, who of you did some experiments, tried out ChatGPT or another LLM in the last 2 years, gets his or her first experience with that? Who's that? So it's probably everybody, yeah? So who of you has been using now AI tools, AI-based tools, maybe like the example we just seen, really productively in his or her everyday work, not only experimenting? So it's like a coverage of almost 50%, 40%. And who of you has the impression that his or her job got obsolete with using those tools? Thank you. So I'm done. Thank you. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah? We always see that the problem is somewhere else, so others might get unemployed, but not ourselves. So this is always very interesting. So as I said, yeah, it's here, it's now usable. This is why we are talking about AI in software development and using AI systems for the last 2.5 years, and it's a big disruption. Yeah? We have seen that in the last talk as well. beginning with the internet, with cloud, with social media maybe. I would have also added on that slide. And it has a massive influence in our discipline. And there are lots of opportunities. I started 2.5 years ago with ChatGPT, experimenting with generating test cases, generating test data, and I said, wow, cool, that's just one prompt away, and you have everything. And the more I explored it, the more I realized, okay, this is okay-ish, right? I mean, this is not perfect. There are really, really challenges and also risks in there we have to cope with. So for testing, that means we have to cope with two different things in regards to AI. The first is we have a new test object there, right? There's a new kid on the block. It's called AI or AI-based systems or non-deterministic systems, or we have AI components in some system landscape or something like that. So we have to deal with that. We have to upskill ourselves and know and understand how to test such a system. That's the first part. And the second part, and this is the main focus of what I'm talking about here, is that it also supports testing. So testing with AI, as I just said, right? We can support basically every test activity I can think of with some AI or AI-based tool. And I want to have a look at that today. So I have a lot of questions for you today. I know you are a QA guy, so that's why I ask you now. What is the most important skill of a software tester? What would you say? Bug detection. Sorry, I didn't get it. What's the most important skill? Bug detection. Okay, thank you. So I asked you twice, right? And you gave me the same answer every time. Okay, thank you. That's good. So if I ask the same question to ChatGPT, it does not say bug detection, but accuracy, which is okay. Yeah? So we can agree with that. I didn't understand it the first time, so I asked ChatGPT again, and it said it's defect finding, bug detection. Very good. Okay, I asked it the third time, it's precision, validation, attention to detail. So you have an idea where this is going to, right? So I was kind of bored. I did it 100 times, and I did also some statistics, and this is what I got here. So out of 100 answers, I got 16 different answers, right? Between 13, which is validation, and analytical competence, which I would say is a very important skill for a software tester. So, okay, but that's weird, right? I mean, I ask a human, and this is a question where there is only one feasible answer. There cannot be more than one most important skill. Yeah? It's like when I ask you, who's your best friend? There's only one best friend. You cannot have multiple best friends. Yeah? So it's the same with that. And again here, so we have to cope with that. If I now transfer this, generate some test data, and I get test data, and I do it again, I get other test data. So what's now true, false? I have to assess it. Is that okay? Is that okay? Do I have to dump this or that, right? So we have to cope with those non-deterministic things. It's not about true and false. It's about probabilities of the results. So I have two theses here. The first one is that AI mainly increases efficiency in what we are doing. And with the efficiency increase, we will raise productivity and ideally also the quality both of our work, but also the quality of our product. And we will not reduce the need for humans, with that. And the second thesis, so we cannot replace humans. We have already seen a lot of great examples in the first talk this morning. So we heard human in the loop very often. If you carefully listened in the first talk, this is what this goes to. So we cannot, and moreover, we must not replace humans, and we also will see why I think this is true. So let's first go into this first one. So before we think of replacing humans, we should ask ourselves, who do we want to replace? So sorry for those screenshots, they are in German, but the story being told there is, in Germany, we have a big lack of staff or skilled people of workforce. So at least in software testing, it's not that we go around and pick software testers from the trees because we just need them. It's really crucial. And maybe that might change, I agree, right? So maybe we are running in a recession and that might change, but till now, this is still true. So the question here would be, if we have a lag, if we have a gap of skilled workforce, so maybe AI could help us to close that gap in the first place, right? And then we can talk about replacing people. So that would be my first point here. But coming to this efficiency part, AI increases efficiency in testing. So it can take over a lot of routine tasks, repeating activities, generating things like generating test data, generating test case. We know all those activities already from test automation, right? So this is not new to us, and all the parts we can good automate already are also good activities where we can use AI. But of course, more things we can do, especially with text-intensive things, thinking of requirements, requirement specification, understanding requirements, log messages, finding patterns, and things like that. So the thing is, I do not start from scratch, right? It's like, let's say, 80% of the work can be done by an AI. And also with the examples we have seen before in the last talk, I would say, okay, this is 80%, but I have to do some rework on that. But I do not start from scratch. If I ask for acceptance criteria for a user story, I get a good list, a good starting point of those acceptance criteria, and I can work with them. So I will be much, much faster in what I'm doing, right? And that means efficiency. I invest less resources into achieving some goal. So I will work much more efficient. The question, of course, will be, what will I do with this efficiency gain I have? So if I have a task that took me 10 hours before, now it only takes me 2 hours. What do I do with those remaining 8 hours I now have? I could go to holiday, to Athens, to the beach, or something like that. Sounds nice. So there are a lot of examples there. I already named a few. It starts with analyzing requirements, the test basis, identifying test conditions, acceptance criteria, test ideas, test cases, test data, test execution, finding patterns in log messages. I am prioritizing, optimizing my test portfolio, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of examples, really good tools where we already can use AI for software testing. But, and this is one of my main points, we still have those 20%. Ideally, it's only 20%. Assuming that the 80% an AI is generating is of good quality, right? Then we only have to add some 20%. But what if we are not sure about the quality of those 80%? So we need skills. I have to assess on the quality, on the outcome I get. Is that a valid data for my test case or not? Can I use that or not? This is something where I need skills and experience for that. So I cannot take out the human at that point. So the thesis here is it's a gain in efficiency. And the thing is, increased efficiency leads to increased resource demand, and which sounds like a paradox, or what sounds like a paradox actually is a paradox. It's called the Jevons paradox, or the rebound effect, and you all know that in economics. So it's a very long time ago, so it's from the 18th century, but where does it come from? So in the 18th century, people invented and introduced steam machines, right? So to replace human labor. And so there was one of the first steam machines by a guy called Newcomen. And at a later point, there was this guy called James Watt, and he introduced a new steam machine, which had a higher efficiency degree, 3 times more efficient. Or 1/3 of the coal was needed to produce the same amount of power with the steam machine. So people expected that the need of coal will decrease over time. But what happened was exactly the opposite. So the demand of coal kind of exploded. Why was that because it was much more economically feasible to operate a steam machine because you invested less money to get power and to produce things. So people would buy more steam machines, produce more things, and it exploded. And we see this effect everywhere. So for example, I live in Berlin, my company is in Frankfurt, so the train ride between the two cities is like 4 hours. So if the German railway company would have the idea, and they probably won't have, but that's just a theoretical example, to reduce that to 2 hours, what would happen with the saved time? I would commute more often. I would more often go to Frankfurt and use that track. The same with computing power. So whenever there's a new smartphone, a new laptop, or whatever who has a higher computing power, what happens? There's a higher demand of resource consumption with the software and things like that. Introduction of daylight saving time. Why did we do that? To save power during summer. So what happened was more activities got shifted to the evenings, and people would consume more resources. So that's the point I want to make here, that typically we as humans, if we save something, we invest the saved resources. We invest the saved time. If your square meter prices go down for renting an apartment, people typically rent bigger apartments. They do not save the money, they just rent bigger apartments. And I think the same probably will, or not probably, I think this definitely will happen also in software development in general and in software testing in particular. So we have a gain in productivity. Moreover, I think, so we still have situations where testing is on the critical path, where we do not fulfill our duties, where we become quite late, where we do not have the coverage we want to have. We have a lower quality in the product we originally wanted to have, right? So maybe AI can help us here to fulfill our duties we have, right? To come to that point where we say, okay, now we are really, really confident that we have a quality of the product we really need. So it can fulfill the duty. The other thing is we can do things we would have not done otherwise because the cost of opportunity would have been too high. Maybe an example, so assuming we have a test automation framework with some 1,000 test scripts and we use Selenium for the automation of UI tests. And now there's this new fancy framework there, it's called Playwright, and we think, oh, this is cool, we want to go to Playwright. But what do we do with our 1,000 Selenium test cases? They are legacy now. So what do? We would never do that manually. But with the help of AI, with an LLM, we can do that not in a second, maybe not in a minute, and also maybe not in an hour, but I would say in 1 week or something like that, we could do that. If we would do that manually, it would take us person days, person weeks, and so on. So we would not do that. We would keep 2 systems, have the old one and the new one, and so on. So AI can help us here to get better, and still we have not replaced a single person at that point. So the point here I want to make is I think we will produce more software in less time. The development we had in the last 20, 30 years is shorter development cycles and producing more software. With the introduction of Agile, that became even more. The demand for software is growing, so we need more efficient software development practices around to deliver this software. So we are not able to deliver this amount of software that companies and clients want to have with the current set of workforce. So we need the help of AI in order to get more efficient to produce that amount of software. So if we now are talking currently in general, if we think of Scrum, for example, and an average sprint might take like 2 weeks, I think we will even more shorten those cycles and produce more software. As an analogy, so if you think of test automation, what happened with test automation. So the typical management expectation of test automation is, oh cool, let's automate everything and we don't need any manual testers anymore. That sounds very good business case. The opposite is often true. It takes very long till that works out. The primary effect of test automation is that we are able to deliver faster, to test faster, and or to test more. And only with the help of test automation, we are able to have short development cycles and are confident to make changes to our systems. So with the introduction of test automation, the main advantage is becoming faster and more efficient and not to reduce human labor. So typically, we use the human workforce to do more things that a human can do better than the machine, which is manual testing. It's more creative parts of testing, is the analytical part, is like exploratory testing and things like that, what humans really can do better. So, and as I said before, so all the use cases for AI in testing are typically those where we are already very good in test automation. So we can assume that AI is something like test automation on steroids. So this will even advance. The other analogy is, as I already just said, with the introduction of agile methods. So what happened with agile if we do it right? It's an efficiency booster with continuous flow, continuous development, early feedback, shift left of test activities. This all leads to less resources we invest to obtain some goal. So we get more efficient, and only with the introduction of agile, we have been or are in the situation that we can deliver more software in a short time. The time we save with being more efficient, we do not invest in more holidays. We invested in writing more code, typically. But, and I would like to point that out, let's not forget about testing as we typically do that when we invent new methodologies, new frameworks, new tools that come around. It happened with Agile. Agile came around the corner and said, oh cool, now we have Agile and testing is built in and the team is responsible for quality and it somehow works, but it did not work. So we really have to work on that. We have to keep the candle up the whole time that QA and testing is important. So let's not forget that again with the introduction of AI. Let's not throw AI on that problem and say, okay, now we are done. We definitely need humans here. So maybe to sum that up here, let's test smarter and not harder. Let's use this intelligent thing in artificial intelligence, right? So being smarter, this is a quote I have from another book. It's from that one, from David Anderson in regards to Kanban, but it goes into a similar direction, right? They had situations before they introduced Kanban where they had a company with a lot of overwork, overtime. They could not meet their goals. They had thousands and thousands of defects in their systems. And with the introduction of a new methodology, in that case Kanban, they were able to deliver the quality they originally wanted. And with the help of AI, we can do the same thing. So that's my first argument here, my first thesis. Sorry, I just have to look on the... Oh, that looks good. I'll put that here. The second one is we cannot replace humans. And I will show you why I think that. The first thing is a mind game here. So if we think of a development process again, and the development process is typically, so this is no matter if it's a waterfall or iterative approach. So first we have to do some analysis. We have to understand the problem, right? Requirements engineering. We have to design a solution. We have to find one solution, one possible solution, and then we have to design the solution. Then we have to, so can they call that, it's like architectural activities, things like that. So requirements, maybe architecture. Implementation, coding, right? Software development is, of course, more than just coding and implementation, and this is the implementation part where we do coding, and at the end, we always have to accept the solution, being it either a big monolith in a waterfall thing or a small increment in Agile, we always have to accept the solution. So if you now would think of, we have 4 activities, and you would replace 3 out of 4 of those activities by AI, and 1 should remain for humans. Which one would you pick? Which 3 activities should be replaced by an AI, and which activity you want to keep the human? Yeah? There's no true answer, but I give you my answer. It's that one. That's at least my gut feeling. Yeah? This is, I think, what many people, so when I'm talking on a test conference, everybody agrees with me, apparently. But if I take the human out of the equation at that point, yeah, it feels, at least it feels strange, and actually it is strange. So that does not mean, don't get me wrong on that, I don't want to recommend to replace those activities 100% by an AI. I think we should not do that, and we cannot do that. But from a testing perspective, I think, okay, before we replace humans or all humans in testing, other disciplines will have even bigger problems. That's kind of a dystopian perspective, I know that, but I think we are quite fine and quite okay here at that point. We develop software, not all software, but most software for humans and not for machines. And who is best to assess whether a software for humans is good? It's a human. So it does not make sense at all to take the human out of the equation again and have one AI develop some software and another AI to test that software 100%. It does not make sense. So we have a lot of things. We have human perspective, if you just think of usability, accessibility, for example. These are all aspects where we definitely need humans to judge if it's the right thing. This is also a hard pill to swallow for many testers, but testing is more than automation. It's not possible to automate everything. Of course, we can automate many activities in testing, namely and typically test execution, especially on the low test levels like unit testing, also maybe integration testing, also on higher test levels. But if you think of test planning, monitoring, control, even test analysis and test design, probably there's a higher degree of automation possible, reporting, assessment, judging, making decisions, all of those things. And then it's a social thing. It's a project. It's about humans. It's about talking with each other, with other people, understanding the context and things like that. These are all things we cannot automate. So again, we can, of course, automate many things in this whole pipeline, in this whole process, but we definitely need humans as more than glue code to connect all the dots together. So if you are as old as I am, yeah, so then you maybe know this movie. It's Die Hard with the Vennegans called. So this guy on the left side is called Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson. And this scene here is, if you know that, so there's this guy called Simon. Simon says and tells them to solve a problem in a short time. And here the challenge is they have a 3-gallon container of 3 gallons of water and a container of 5 gallons of water. And the challenge is, okay, I want to have exactly 4 gallons of water, but you only have this 3-gallon container and the 5-gallon container. So how do you do that, solve that problem, right? So you have an idea. So probably I will start with the 3-liter gallons pouring into the 5 liters and continue like that. Again, it's like the first question I asked you in regards to this function. This is something a human can very easily solve, whereas LLMs in that case are really bad in solving those challenges. And there are more examples. You probably know there's this challenge with the farmer, the sheep, the wolf, and the cabbage. He wants to bring all of those over the river, but can only have 2 of them together in the boat. Or this nice question, so what weighs more, 1 pound of lead or gold and 1 pound of feather? So this is when I first asked this question to my 6-year-old, he answered, yeah, of course, 1 pound of gold is heavier. This is a child, 6 years old, replying like that. And many LLMs respond like that as well. So what I make clear here, or point out, that AI have weaknesses where we have a lot of strengths. And I don't want to go into details to all of them, but there are weaknesses, yeah? So the common sense, for example. So our advantage is we are physical, whereas an AI is virtual. It cannot feel, for example, the context, the surrounding, and all of those things. This is, for example, where a human is better. It's about reasoning. An LLM, for example, is good in reasoning from that perspective or time point when it got trained, but not from a later perspective. Had very high weaknesses there. And this is okay. We just have to be clear about that an AI is not perfect, that it will always give us an answer. If I ask ChatGPT something, it will always give me an answer. It's like a consultant, yeah? It will say, okay, this is here, this is the answer. But I don't know if it's true or false. So that means for testing, we have challenges. We have this hallucination problem, right? Remember this first image with everybody being pregnant? This is a hallucination, yeah? This is false positives we have there. We had a great talk this morning, the first talk about this ethical AI thing, biases, transparency, explainability. These are all challenges to understand, and it's often a black box for us, right? And we do not really understand how it works, so this is a challenge. The whole trustworthiness thing. And not to now go into all details, but this problem, I mean, we have had this test oracle problem for years, and it's getting even worse now with the AI. So what's the test oracle problem? It's to understand, okay, what is the system supposed to do? What is right and what is wrong? How do I understand whether this piece of software is doing the right thing or not? Yeah? So ideally, my test oracle is a perfect specification. Has someone of you ever seen a perfect specification? No. I don't know that it exists, by the way, but and there the pain starts, especially for software testers, right? So it gets worse with non-determinism, with probabilistic results and things like that. We have human strengths, critical thinking, human intuition, thinking out of the box, around the corner, and so on. And this is typically what software testers are, by the way, like crucial, analytical people. So all of them, they already make fun of me the whole day because I'm such a weird guy, always pointing out problems everywhere, right? But this is how I am. This is how software testers typically are. So the quality of an AI can at least only fully assessed by humans. Of course, there's a big portion of automation and AI possible in assessing the quality of an AI, but there are a lot of points, and I don't want to repeat that because that was already really great pointed out this morning. We have heard about biases, ethical parts, transparency, explainability, fairness, and things like that. For example, explainability is for humans. This is a quality criteria that goes to humans, so only humans can assess that. We have test techniques that require humans. If we think of this whole bias, freedom of bias thing, data validation part, training, and so on, we need humans. We have this test oracle problem I just pointed out. We have test techniques where we need humans, like metamorphic testing would be one of those. A/B or back-to-back testing could be something, so that means maybe have a legacy, a traditional software, and I have now an AI-based software, and I compare those two with each other. That could be one approach. And also, as I've already pointed out, the whole thing of usability and accessibility can only be assessed by humans. They must be developed by humans. Maybe you have heard of the European AI Act. You should. It says AI systems should be overseen by people rather than by automation to prevent harmful outcomes. Great, I like that. That's perfect. I mean, this clearly says you cannot take out the human of the equation, right? We have to keep the human in the loop at that point. To dig deeper a little bit, there's Article 4. It says AI literacy. and it demands, I quote it here a little bit, to ensure a sufficient level of AI literacy, taking into account, also companies have to take into account their technical knowledge, experience, education, and training of their staff. So this is great, but this also goes to us. So we have to upskill ourselves, we have to train ourselves to really be able to work and to develop and to test AI-based systems. So putting those two together, if I would label the left part, I would label it with, let's call this AI-assisted testing. Is this co-pilot metaphor also, right? I have a pilot, I have a co-pilot. I know there might be a brand or product called co-pilot, but still the metaphor is good. And the question might be, who is the pilot and who is the co-pilot, right? Maybe we could change those things, but both need a pilot license. Both have to be skilled and experienced in order to swap the tasks. And here, and that's why I like the first talk this morning very much, we call that human in the loop. So this is crucial and it's key. So now to bring that together, what does that mean for our role of testing? So first, maybe not being too serious, I like that quote here from Mastodon. You know what the biggest problem with pushing all things AI is? Wrong direction. I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so that I can do art and writing. Not for AI to do my art and writing so that I can do my laundry and dishes. And I mean, to be serious now, I mean, it's about us to decide how our future should look like, what we want to do, and how we want to work together with AIs and AI-based systems. If we are just at the end operating AIs, and this is what we want to do, this is the purpose of our work and our lives, I don't think so. So let's create a future where we do the cool things, right? And the AI is doing the laundry and the dishes, yeah? And not like in LinkedIn. So in LinkedIn, in my timeline, I see AI-generated content, and there I see AI-generated comments. Great, inspiring, whatever. So I just have to click there. So it's AI is talking with each other, and there's the human in the loop who has to push the button, so inspiring. I mean, this is not how we want to do that. But to be a bit more serious here, what we definitely will have, and we have seen that also in the second talk this morning, this junior maybe thing, there will be a shift in the task. So what do I mean with that? So when we develop software, we typically have to start with a problem. We should have or understand our problem. So what's that actually? If we know our problem, then we should know maybe software can solve our problem. It could also be pen and paper solving my problem, but we now agree that software might solve our problem. Okay, this is something I have to know. If I know that, the next step would be, maybe it's a good idea to test software because it might not be perfect being developed from some developers, but we also have to be crucial and test it. Then I have to understand, why am I testing? What are my goals of testing? What do I want to achieve? What are quality goals, testing goals, and so on? The next step would be, okay, what do I have to test? What are the test conditions? What are the requirements? What are the different aspects in my requirements? And at the last point, it's how do I test? How do I write a test case? How do I write a script in Selenium? How do I write a script in Cypress, right? So this is the last step. So if we assume this is today, right? So the big human and the small AI. And somewhere in the future, there's the singularity. So there's the takeover of the AI, and the human is only a small thing next to this singularity. What will happen? This will go away first, this how to do things. Yeah? How do I write a script in Playwright? I don't need to know that in the future. Longer, I have to know, what do I have to test? What are the test conditions? What are the quality criteria? What are the requirements? And so on. So you see where this is going to. Yeah? So the last thing is, when we have singularity, that we don't even have to know what our problem is. Right? So the singularity will tell us, this is your problem. I will solve it for you. You don't have to care about it. this is very strange. This is Big Brother, yeah? So, but the thing is, this is tactical and concrete knowledge, and this is conceptual knowledge. And I would always recommend you go with that, so your conceptual knowledge always is more sustainable than the other. It's not about learning how to write a script in Playwright. I mean, this is easily done by an AI, right? So there you will be replaced. The other thing is now this junior-senior thing. Yeah, sounds great. I mean, I'm the senior, finally, and there's the AI. It's a junior. I said, cool, junior, do the work for me. But the problem is, how do I become a senior without being a junior before? I definitely have to have junior know-how and activities to go through in order to be able to assess whether some work product is good or not. I have to be an experienced car driver in order to assess whether the recommendation of my navigation system makes sense or not, whether it makes sense to go over an airport or a runway or towards the Death Valley, right? Or if that's not making sense. I have to have this junior experience. So we do not get seniors out of university. People do not come from there and say, hey, I'm a senior, I just will operate some AIs. That's not working. How should that work? So we have to go through that, and that's okay, right? To learn things and not unlearn things. And this is also what happens in many things, that we unlearn being crucial, unlearn to drive a car, unlearn to be humans with all this automation. And we really have to be careful that we keep that. Yeah? So rather, keep it as a sparing, yeah? An assistant, a sparing, working together, pilot, co-pilot thing, and we support each other. So the AI is a sparing partner. There will not be a takeover by the AI. So, okay, this is true for the next 10 years. So don't quote me in 11 years maybe. Yeah, I don't know what will happen in 11 years. Maybe we will have the singularity, but I don't see that for now. It takes over basic tasks, the 80%, I would say. It makes testing much more effective and ideally more attractive. That's the cool thing. Let's do it with that. So take the AI, do this repetitive task, this generative task, the things nobody wants to do, like with test automation. Nobody wants to run a test case 500 times a day. This has been perfectly done by an automation. And also, it's not binary. Of course, we like binary things, but this is different levels of autonomy we will have. And I mean that in different dimensions. So one dimension is we have different test activities. We have test planning, monitoring, control, analysis, design, implementation, execution, and closure. And we probably will have different levels of autonomy in those activities, right? So execution will probably have a very high degree of autonomy, whereas maybe planning will have a low degree. Also, I think we will have different levels of autonomy within the same organization. There will be probably teams that are more autonomous than those teams. Also different companies in the same industry. So if you think of the implementation degree of agile methodology after 30 years, I'm a consultant, so I'm working with lots of different companies, and I see really many different working models and methodologies. And I can tell you, there are companies that still ask me, what is agile after 30 years? So we will probably have that similar here, right? So different degrees, at least, in the implementation of AI-supported development. Without going too deep into that, but I like that. So in my references at the end, you will see this is from EY. They have defined different autonomy levels, like with self-driving cars, where you also have different levels. And the highest level here is, they call it the assistance, the buddy, the sparing partner. The highest level of autonomy in software testing, from their perspective, is definitely not a takeover. So it's maybe a pointer where you can read in the study later. So we need skills, don't see AI as a threat, but as an opportunity. Learn how to work with AI, learn how to understand. You don't have to be, as a tester, a data analyst, a model developer, implementation, but at least, so I'm not an expert in that field from a technical perspective as well, but I think I have at least some understanding and knowledge of how a neural network works, for example, how machine learning is working and things like that. So there should be a basic understanding. And it definitely will increase your market value if you have that. There is, of course, a significant effect on our job profile, reskilling, and things like that. So one last quote. I have no idea about testing. Thanks to AI, however, it now works fine without me. Who said that? Nobody ever said that. Yeah? That makes no sense. I mean, look around on the conferences, on the talks, on people showing things. These are not the worst skilled persons in the world. These are all the persons that have a really, really high education, many skills, a good of knowledge and know-how, and they show you how to do it. Yeah? It will not replace it. Does not make sense. Yeah? So a fool with AI is still a fool. I would say a good tester will produce, with the help of AI, even better results and even faster, and a bad tester will produce even worse results in a faster way. Yeah? This is what we get. So we need those skills. We have talked already about prompting, about challenging the results of an AI. We need probably other testing strategies. Sorry, let me check. Okay, that's okay. I still have 1 minute. So, already done, almost done. So, to sum that up, I think personally we won't need less testers, but more testers in the future. Why that? I said we have a gain in efficiency. We will be faster and produce more software. We cannot take out the human of the equation, and in order not that, or to prevent that the human will become the bottleneck in the future, producing software very fast, a lot of software in short cycles, but we need humans in that. And we don't want to be the human a bottleneck. We need humans, and we probably need more humans to produce that more software. We'll see if that will be the case, but at least I think we won't need less people. So coming to my last point, I like this kind of image. It's a yin and yang, so everything is now fine at the end. We have human testers in charge on the one side, and we have the machine in charge on the other side. Yeah, it's complementary. They work together, and we have here maybe the machine in the loop. Some activities can be helped with the AI or by the AI, and there's the human tester in the loop. And they work together. And for different situations and different challenges, we find the best combination. There might be a situation where there's more machine and less human. There's another situation where there's almost humans and no machine, but it's going back and forth maybe, but complementary approach, and together we will have the best quality of software in the future. So I think AI will not take my job as a tester in the future. I hope it will become true. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here and have a nice rest of the day.
Thank you very much, Florian.
Or the morning. I mean, it's still morning, right?
Undecided yet.
Okay, we are approaching midday.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to our next speaker. Actually, we have 4 minutes. We might have time for one question if someone has. Or two, it depends. Okay, you have one question here.
That's okay.
Thank you, Florian.
Yeah, thank you.
You were talking about singularity. I think everyone expects for the next 2 years to be that. When do you think will be the first singularity in testing?
When do I expect what? Sorry?
When we
singularity.
Yeah.
January 1st, 2032.
It was a very good answer.
I don't know. I don't know if it will come or not. This is, I mean, I read a lot of science fiction books, and what I learned from the past is that reality comes 50 years later, what you read in science fiction books. So we have singularity there everywhere. Maybe it will come or not, but I think this is a really theoretical or philosophical question. If we, I mean, the thing is, do we want to have that, right? And there are things going on into that direction. And the AI Act, for example, is contradicting that. I mean, this is trying to prevent us from those kind of things. So, to be honest, I have no idea when it will be there or if it will be there ever.
Thank you.
But maybe Jan 1st, 32. It's a good date.
Florian, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.